Hello, YouTube. Man, it's been a really long time since I said that. Already starting with the ums. Okay, gotta watch that. So, if you're wondering who I am and why I'm in your feed, you probably subscribed to the channel a long time ago. The truth is I haven't uploaded a video in probably something like 8 years, but I've been thinking of coming back to YouTube. I've really missed it. Life got complicated at one point, and I just needed to take a step back and kind of regain some bandwidth, and this was unfortunately where that came from, and in truth, I've regretted it ever since. So I was going to do sort of a Make-tober kind of situation, sort of Inktober-y, but for making. And every day through the month of October, I'm going to try to release some content, partially just to kickstart the channel, but also to get myself back in the habit of actually filming my projects, editing, talking to camera, etc. Not saying every 3 seconds, which is a huge problem I have. And to start off, yesterday morning, I had opened up Fusion360 and saw that they had a big notice about parametric text. And I kind of had my hopes up that they had integrated some plugin functionality that I've come to depend on over the last few years, and they did not. But that reminded me of the plugin that I use, and I thought I would do a tip for it. So the tip revolves around being able to insert live metadata into your parts. This is particularly useful when you're doing rapid prototyping, especially if you have multi-part assemblies that need to sort of go together. And when you're doing any kind of rapid prototyping and iteration, you're going to end up with a whole lot of copies of parts that are functionally identical looking. And you might need to go take measurements off of some, and it's really, really handy to know specifically which version of the part you're looking at and which parts go to the same version, and to be able to look and have those match up with your Fusion 360 versions. It's a huge time saver, and if you get them to print nicely, you can even leave them on in the production version. I like them enough that I leave them there, but you can always just suppress the feature when you're done. So as I was saying, Fusion 360 added some parametric text functionality, but it doesn't do what I've been using a plugin for. So I thought I would really briefly walk you through using the plugin. It's very simple, and I'm going to show you the easiest thing to do with it, the thing I do all the time. But you can do way more powerful things. You can insert actual parametric values, like if you want to actually mark what your tolerances are on a part, or part names or dates, or even the file name of the document, etc. You can insert a lot of data. There's even formatters for that data using this plugin. I'm not going to go through the entire installation process because it's just installing an add-in from the Fusion store, but I will briefly show you where it is. So if you go under Utilities and go under Add-ins, Fusion App Store, you'll need to type parametric text. And here we are. It's a wonderful plugin by Thomas A. He's got a few really cool plugins. I've only used this ever for Mac. I assume it works the same on Windows, but I'm not really a Windows user. I'm a Linux and Mac person. But for Mac OS, I will throw in one caveat in that this has an automatic installer, and that installer is unsigned, which means you'll have to actually allow that. In older versions of Mac OS, you have to, I believe, hold down Option when you right-click on it and go to Open, and it'll let you override being able to uninstall, or sorry, to be able to install a unsigned package. In modern Mac OS, it will fail when you try to open it. It'll just say like, well, you can't install this, it's unsigned. And then you have to go into your settings, and I believe it's under privacy and security or something like that. And you'll see it listed there. Like if you scroll like through there, you'll see that something was tried to install, and you can choose to allow it there. I'm not going to go through the whole installation, though. That's outside of the scope of this, and the internet has no chill for long videos anymore, so I better get to it. So I do this on any part I'm going to expect to do a lot of iterating on, especially if there's multiple components or parts to that assembly. This will save a lot of time and a lot of headache when you're digging through a box of prototypes. So it starts off the way that you would expect, just using text, right? So you can go in and add, I like to put like a little anchor point for the text block itself. It doesn't actually matter what size it is here. Don't worry about any of these dimensions. And when we insert our text, we're just going to put some placeholder values in right now. It doesn't actually matter what we put. What matters is that you have it laid out on your part the way that you would like to see the metadata installed later. I'm going to do the version, because that's what I almost always add, because I feel like that's the most useful bit of data. And the way that we do this is once you have it installed, I should mention too that after you install it, you'll want to make sure to go to scripts and add-ins and make sure that it's actually turned on, that parametric text is actually checked to run. Beyond that, once it's installed, you should see underneath your change parameters option, there's going to be a change text parameters. Now, even though this is going to do all of the updating and everything for you, you do need to actually add the text to a sketch, because what this plugin is going to do is update that that text block with the metadata, and it does it with kind of like pre-commit hooks, like pre-save and whatnot. So everything stays up to date and live, meaning that when you go to save a file, it will save with the current version in the current document. So your version 10 in your timeline, in your history for Fusion, will match the version that it'll be printed on the part. And I'll show you how that works. So we're going to go to change text parameters. We just need to select our actual text right here. And you can see mine's already pre-populated with V and this sort of weird cryptic looking bit. This is the important part. The V is not necessary. I put that there for spatial orientation for human readers, so that if it's a 6 or a 9 or something that's not necessarily clear which direction it's facing, you always know. But it's not necessary. Everything outside the curly braces here is optional. And I was saying you can do this for a lot more than versions. There is a really quick reference guide down here that shows kind of the format for using some default values. And then there's a link here to go to a full reference guide. That full reference guide will take you through like all the options. But honestly, 99% of the time I use this specifically for the version. But you can do things, like I said, actually print parametric values. Like if you want to have your tolerances printed right on the part, you can have your tolerances printed right on the part. The file date or print date, or it would be the file date, etc. So like you can kind of go nuts. I'm showing you the easiest use case for it right now. So once we have this in here, and it does have to be specific and case sensitive, it's underscore or curly braces with underscore dot version and curly brace. We're going to hit OK, and what you should see in just a second or two is that it's going to automatically update this part, and it's going to have our file version. And you can see that actually matches up here. Now you see the little asterisks on here, meaning that this file is currently has been modified and has not been saved. So you can watch what happens here when I hit save. It'll automatically bump this version, and after a moment or two you'll see that updates in the title bar there as well. And there it is. And what is especially cool about this is when you go to your version history, all of your versions will match. So you can go in here at any version and you can find specifically the Fusion360 version that was used to print that specific part, or laser or CNC or whatever type of rapid iterating prototyping you're doing. Now, kind of as a little extra bonus tip, of course you can just do the normal operations with this, right? We can extrude our shape. We can let's do an extrude -0.6. And we can see this part is now built directly, or sorry, this version will print directly on the part, and this would print face down on the bed, and it would print right over the top, and you would have this sort of embossed into the surface of the part. Now, for that little bonus tip is using the embed feature. That allows you, especially when you're dealing with multi-component parts, rather than going through that whole process for each one of the parts, you can actually use the emboss feature. And you can go in and take that same sketch, but apply it to other faces. I guess technically this is a deboss, not an emboss. because we're going into the surface. But say I wanted to put that version on this part as well. I'm not going to go too crazy here just because it's for demonstration purposes, but you can see now we have that there as well. Now, again, if we save this, it'll update obviously the sketch itself, and the text within our actual sketch will change. But also you can see that it updates anything based on that sketch, which is the beauty of parametric programming and the beauty of this ParametricText plugin. If you're using this for rapid prototyping purposes, the clarity and quality of the text isn't crazy important, but with the right settings, you can make this text print super cleanly. And I'll probably do a separate video on sort of setting up small text for a print that prints really, really well at a very small size. I can pretty accurately get like 3.5 millimeter height text to print on a 0.4 millimeter nozzle really cleanly and legibly. So I'll do a separate video on, you know, small printing on FDM printers, but for now this should give you sort of a starting place, especially if you don't need that text to look good in a production part. Speaking of, once this does look good, I've gotten to the point where I just started leaving the versions on things. Now normally I wouldn't put them on the face where everybody could see it. I would hide them on an underside surface or inside someplace where it's inconspicuous. But when they print cleanly, I don't really care if people see them, so I don't actually go in and suppress that feature afterwards. So like once you hit production, if you didn't want that, you could just right click on it, go to suppress feature, and it would take it off. But if it looks good, I found there's really no reason to remove that, and it's kind of nice having it in the future. But that's it. It's a very simple tip, but it's a huge time saver for people who design a lot of their own parts, and that's primarily what I use Fusion360 for. I've designed hundreds of models, and a lot of them took several iterations to get right, and being able to very easily see which ones are old iterations versus the new iteration, and knowing specifically which version in Fusion that part belongs to is a wildly useful help. So hopefully that helps everybody or somebody as much as it has helped me. As I said, I'm going to try to release a lot of content this month, so look forward to some more stuff. It will not all be Fusion or computer-based tips. A lot of it will be in the workshop. It could be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The truth is I'm always doing stuff. I stopped making videos, but I never did videos for the purpose of making videos. I always just filmed stuff I was doing anyway. And while I haven't been making videos for a number of years, I have never stopped making things. So I've got years of things we can go over in Fusion and old projects, as well as about 1 million projects that are on deck waiting to see some attention and some love. So hopefully look forward to a lot of content this month, and we'll see how it goes. But until next time, enjoy, and I'll see you later, YouTube.